It is almost time for the 2022 NHL Draft, so today we're going to do a preview of the teams that are picking in the first round. We're also going to take a look at the teams with the most picks, the least picks, and what are all the draft trade rumors leading into the first round, which players might we see packaged up with draft picks, and that it could be traded, as well as other picks being moved as well. We'll preview the draft coming up next. So welcome back to another video here at Top Shelf Hockey. As I mentioned, the NHL Draft is almost upon us here yet again. The 2022 Draft from Montreal to Bell Center is almost ready to get started. The first round goes later into tonight, and of course rounds 2 through 7 will go tomorrow. So there's all kinds of talk, all kinds of rumors leading into this on lots of different scenarios we could see unfold. So today I want to do a quick preview of what you should expect here, not only through round 1, but into the day 2 of the draft through rounds 2 through 7. So we're going to first take a look at the picking order in round 1, so you know what to expect that way. We're going to look at the teams with the most picks, the teams with the least picks, and what that means for potential trades, as well as some high first rounders that could be moved, and some of the most likely trade scenarios and rumors we're hearing leading into all this. So first up, let's first take a look at the round 1 order selection and who's picking in what order. There's several teams that do not have first round picks that have already made trades over the last number of weeks and months. So let's get started here with that. Of course, the high order of the selection, the first 16 spots are determined by a draft lottery, which was completed back at the beginning of the NHL playoffs. We know the Montreal Canadiens, the host team, is picking first overall, followed by New Jersey at number 2, Arizona at number 3, the Seattle Kraken hold the number 4 pick, the Flyers at number 5, the Columbus Blue Jackets have the number 6 pick by way of Chicago due to the Seth Jones trade. The Ottawa Senators pick at number 7, Detroit at number 8, Buffalo at number 9, Anaheim at number 10, San Jose at number 11, Columbus again with their own pick at number 12, the New York Islanders at 13, the Jets have the 14th pick, the Vancouver Canucks have the 15th pick, and the Buffalo Sabres have pick number 16, which originally was the first round pick of the Vegas Golden Knights that they obtained in the Jack Eichel trade. Now, the next portion of this is all determined by teams and where they finished in the playoffs. Pick 17 goes to Nashville, then the Dallas Stars. Pick 19 was the Los Angeles Kings, but now belongs to the Minnesota Wild due to the Kevin Fiala trade that just went down a few days ago. Then we have Washington, followed by Pittsburgh, and then the Anaheim Ducks with another first-round pick that they obtained from the Boston Bruins in the Hampus Lindholm trade at the deadline. And then we're followed by the St. Louis Blues, Minnesota Wild, the Toronto Maple Leafs, and then the final 3 picks here before we get to the teams in the conference finals and finals were all traded picks. The next pick after Toronto belongs to the Montreal Canadiens, which was originally a first rounder for the Calgary Flames that they obtained in the Tyler Toffoli deal. The next pick belongs to the Arizona Coyotes. That was originally the first round pick of the Carolina Hurricanes. That pick has been traded twice. It was originally compensation that went to the Montreal Canadiens for the offer sheet that was successful for Jesperi Kotkaniemi, and then the Montreal Canadiens then in turn traded it to the Arizona Coyotes when they obtained centerman Christian Dvorak. And then the next pick is the Buffalo Sabres, which was originally the Florida Panthers first rounder that they acquired in the Sam Reinhart trade. The final 4 picks, of course, are your teams that was the losers in the conference finals, but followed by the Stanley Cup finalists and Stanley Cup champions. So, of course, that's Edmonton, followed by Winnipeg, which has the Rangers pick. That was the Rangers pick that was traded for Andrew Kopp. That was a conditional pick. It was going to be a second rounder unless they made it to the conference final, which then it gets upgraded to a first. So that first rounder goes to the Jets. And then, of course, the Tampa Bay Lightning have their pick at number 31. And pick 32, the Avalanche pick, belongs now to the Arizona Coyotes that they acquired in the trade last offseason for Darcy Kuemper, the goalie for the Stanley Cup champions. Well, that is your complete list of first round selections. So as you can see, there's teams that don't have picks that might try to find a way to get back in. And there's also teams with multiple first rounders that very well could package them together and maybe consider being a little bit more aggressive at the draft if they feel like they can acquire impact players, or maybe combine picks to have a chance to move up. So now let's take a look at some of the teams with the most amount of picks, followed by teams with the least amount of picks. The teams with the most picks is your host team, the Montreal Canadiens, who have 14 selections, including 2 first-rounders. So I do not expect the Montreal Canadiens to select 14 prospects here. They already have a pretty decent pool of prospects to begin with, and then when you throw in 14 more, I am sure we're going to see Ken Hughes make some trades, and they will not pick 14 times. At the very least, they'll either move some of this draft capital for players who can help them right away, or we could see them combining, multiple picks for chances to move up. So you could say, well, let's combine 2 second-rounders to get another first, or, a third and a fourth to get back into another second-rounder, or something to that effect. They'll move up when they have a chance to grab a player that they really like that may not be available if they wait and stay where they are going to be. The Seattle Kraken also have 12 picks, including 4 in the second round, so they are expected to be busy. We know the Kraken were not pleased with their first season and are going to be looking for at least a few new players to add that can help them immediately here. So it wouldn't be shocking to see the Kraken be a busy team. You have teams like the Arizona Coyotes have 10, including 3 first-rounders. Of course, they were heavily depleted a few years ago, and in the last 2 years under Bill Armstrong, they've really sold off a lot of assets, a lot of players trying to recoup their draft capital here to start this rebuild, and they've done quite well in that regard. So hopefully they put these picks to good use. But having 3 first-rounders is not something you see a lot. So that's obviously one of the teams with more than enough draft capital. You have a bunch of teams with 11 picks, including Buffalo, who also has 3 first-rounders. You've got the Ottawa Senators as well. The Sens have a lot of it's a few extra mid-round picks. You get the Jets and Wild as well. Both have 2 first-rounders. Of course, they're going to possibly be teams to watch. We've already seen the Wild trade Kevin Fiala here and leading up to the draft. I don't know what else they might do, but certainly they're a team to watch. And New Jersey, of course, has 9 picks, which is a little bit more than usual as well. And we know that they're expected to be busy as well. Now, some of the teams with the least amount of picks, well, who are those teams and why is that relevant? Well, if they're low on picks, we might see them sell off some players for additional picks to kind of restock their prospect pools here. That's a real possibility we could see, especially if they don't have a first rounder. If they really want to get in, they might be able to swing a trade here. So teams like the Toronto Maple Leafs and the Calgary Flames are down to only 3 picks in this draft. That's not a lot. So the Leafs have their first rounder, but they don't have much after that. So you might see teams like Toronto and Calgary maybe make a few small trades to get maybe a few 1 or 2 mid-round picks to try to bolster that a little bit. Obviously, they've made a lot of moves here trying to be aggressive at the trade deadline, and obviously it hasn't led to a Stanley Cup, which is, obviously the ultimate goal here, but still a lot of moves that they may or may not regret now, but they're down to 3 picks each. The Edmonton Oilers only have 4, but at least they have a first rounder, which is good, at least like Toronto. They may not have a lot of picks, but at least they have an early one. The Oilers don't have a second, third, or fourth rounder, so we may see some moves that would get them a pick there. We know there's some players in play. Chicago has 8 picks, but no first rounder, so that's not really a case of them being low on picks, but they're out of the first round and they're near the bottom of the standings. So obviously having that pick that they gave to Columbus for the Seth Jones trade by the previous Hawks regime is not looking good at this point. Vegas is down to 6 picks, as well as the Florida Panthers. The Vegas Golden Knights don't have a first rounder, neither does Florida. They don't have a second rounder either, and Florida's already traded picks for next year as well. So the Panthers and Vegas Golden Knights are all low on draft capital, and they're both teams that are tight up against the cap too, so it would not be shocking if we see them make some moves to get them a first or second rounder in order to gain an extra prospect or more there as well. So those are the teams with the most and the least picks. The teams with the most picks are likely to be active to either grab impact players to help their teams right away or combine picks to move up. The teams with the least picks are likely looking at ways to bolster their prospect pool by selling off some current assets in exchange for some of those picks. So these teams on each of these lists could be good trade partners for each other. For example, a team like Montreal with 14 picks maybe talks to Toronto or Calgary or Edmonton with 3 or 4 picks, and maybe they work something out that Montreal gets a player that helps them right away, and some of that draft capital goes over to them. So who are the teams, though, that we're expecting to make the biggest splash and maybe some of the biggest moves here? Well, your host team, Montreal Canadiens, are expected to be aggressive and busy. We don't know if we want to call this a rebuild or a retool or what the Hughes and Gorton are doing in Montreal, but they're the host team. They're picking first overall. There's been a lot of rumors they want to get another top 10 pick if they can. There's been lots of speculation with them talking to a lot of other teams in the top 10, so we'll see what they do. I fully expect Montreal to be extremely busy. We know New Jersey's bound to be a busy team. I'll be surprised to an extent if they trade the number 2 pick. It's not something you see very often, but it has happened. But it's rare that a top 3 or top 5 pick gets traded like that. But we know that they're willing to if they get the right player. They've been linked to some interesting names on the trade bait board, so we'll see what they do that way. The Flyers at number 5, we know that they're looking for an aggressive retool. They might keep the pick. There's been a lot of talk about them and Alex DeBrincat. There's been some talk today that they might be out of the sweepstakes, but you know what? Things can change in one phone call, so you never know. If Chicago calls them back and says, we want to reconsider, then the deal could be back on. So we'll see what they do with that number 5 pick in Philly. Could be an impact player obtained. The Senators at number 7 have made it well known that that pick is available for the right, of course, player. They've been linked to numerous players as well available on the open market, so we'll see what they do. Pierre Dorian himself today, talking to the media, gave it a 50-50 chance that he trades the pick. Get the New York Islanders at number 13, looking for an impact player to play with Matthew Barzal. If they can find a deal, that pick could be moved. The Canucks at number 15, again, they might keep the pick, but at 15, they're going to get a player that's going to be 3 or 4 years away, probably 3 years from having a big impact on the roster. Probably at least 2 years before they have a chance to play NHL games, and then you're looking at another year or two before they're having an impact. So, they obviously don't want to be too aggressive to the point that they, damage the future, but at the same time, the Vancouver Canucks are going to want to get back into the playoffs here as quickly as they can as well. So those are the upper half of the draft picks that I think could be moved. As far as the rumors around what trades we could see, some big names like JT Miller is expected to likely get moved. You get Alex DeBrincat as another huge name that very well could be on a move. Like I mentioned, teams like New Jersey and Philadelphia have been linked to DeBrincat. Miller's been linked to the Rangers, the Capitals, the Devils. You got to wonder what could go down there. Goaltender John Gibson in Anaheim's been rumored to have interest from a variety of teams. We don't know what new GM Pat Verbeek is going to do in that regard. Not a guarantee that Gibson gets moved, but it's certainly a real possibility. We know the Winnipeg Jets and their captain Blake Wheeler, even though he has protection in his contract against trades that he can block, they're working together to find a fresh start for him to be able to move on there. So we could see a Blake Wheeler trade go down. Jeff Petrie in Montreal, of course, the host franchise, as I mentioned. The Habs are expected to be active and busy, making various moves, not only with prospects and draft picks, but likely with the roster players as well. Jeff Petrie's a name to watch. There's been a lot of talk about Josh Anderson. I'm not completely convinced Anderson's going to get moved, but I know there's been lots of inquiries since most of the Habs players could be available for the right price. But Christian Dvorak's another name that's reportedly available, and numerous others too, like maybe Mike Hoffman I think could be available for the right price. Even a guy like Paul Byron could be an extra player you add for your bottom 6 for a playoff run. Some other guys like that. So we don't know everybody that's going to be moved, but the Habs are expected to be busy. Jacob Chychrun's another big name that's been in the rumor wheel for a long time. The Coyotes are looking for at least a first rounder. But wouldn't it be something? They already have 3 firsts. What if the Coyotes move him and have a first rounder included? They could have 4 first round picks before we complete the first round of the 2022 NHL draft. Like, that's insane to think about. It's I'm not sure if that's ever been done. I'd have to look back into history books, but having 3 is rare enough. But Chychrun's another guy to watch. Kasperi Kapanen in Pittsburgh is expected to get moved. I don't expect a huge return there, but another player to watch. Jesse Puljujarvi at Edmonton. Brent Burns in San Jose. There's a lot of talk the Sharks between Burns and Karlsson that they don't really want to have both players on the books here with all that money tied up, and it kind of impacts both of them not getting enough ice time. The Burns is the contract that'd be way easier to trade, so many expect that would be the more likely player to get moved if they do something of that nature. There's lots of other names out there too, but those are kind of your key players that I think we could see. All kinds of speculation. It should be an extremely busy time, but then again, every year around the draft, there's all kinds of speculation. We could see players that are pending UFAs have their signing rights traded as well. We're waiting on players like Johnny Gaudreau, Evgeny Malkin, Chris Letang, John Klingberg, Claude Giroux. There's all kinds of top names out there that are pending unrestricted free agents. And if their teams aren't confident they can sign them, we might see cases of trades as well for their signing rights, and could include draft picks going the other way. So we'll have to wait and see, but it could be an incredibly busy evening. So that is your 2022 NHL Draft Preview. That is the rundown of all the latest rumors leading into the draft. There's bound to be other players that haven't been mentioned that very well could be included in trades. So stay tuned throughout the evening as trades happen. I will have videos posted to the channel, and we will be putting up a video as well recapping the full results of the first round of the 22 draft shortly after the first round is over and completed as well. So stay tuned. There's lots more draft coverage coming. Of course, there'll be more videos on day 2 as well. So let me know your thoughts on what you should expect for the draft in the comments. We'll discuss further. If you're new to this channel, make sure you subscribe and stick around. We'll keep you up to date with the latest news, rumors, and analysis on all 32 NHL teams. Thank you for watching, and I'll catch you next time.